Moving on, Israelis welcomed the rescue of 2 Gaza hostages on Monday. Fears of a looming ground incursion grew among over 1 million Palestinians trapped in the war-ravaged territories densely crowded far south. International mediators continue working towards a truce and a hostage-prisoner exchange. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said only continued military pressure until complete victory will result in the release of all hostages. President Joe Biden said US is working to negotiate a ceasefire of at least 6 weeks in the Gaza Strip as part of a wider deal that would also involve the release of hostages.
The United States is working on a hostage deal between Israel and Hamas, which would bring an immediate and sustained period of calm to Gaza for at least 6 weeks, which we could then take the time to build something more enduring.
However, Jordan's King Abdullah II appealed for a full ceasefire to end the Gaza war after talks with Joe Biden. Speaking at the White House, he struck a discordant note with US President, as mentioned, is seeking a shorter 6-week pause to give Israel time to defeat Hamas. Weeks
forward an Israeli attack on Rafah. It is certain to produce another humanitarian catastrophe. The situation is already unbearable for over 1 million people who have been pushed into Rafah since the war started. We cannot stand by and let this continue. We need a lasting ceasefire now. This war must end.
Weeks of talks towards a ceasefire have brought no results yet. Israel says around 130 hostages are still held in Gaza, including 29 who are presumed dead. The Hostages and Missing Families Forum want that the time is running out for the remaining hostages. The campaign group urged the Israeli government to exhaust every option on the table to release them. Netanyahu has vowed to send ground troops into Rafah, where about 1.4 million displaced Palestinians are struggling to survive in shelters and tent camps. Aid groups and foreign governments have voiced deep concerns over the potentially disastrous consequences of expanding operations in Rafah. They say it would worsen an already dire humanitarian situation. EU has also expressed concerns over the situation.
They are going to evacuate. Where? To the moon? Where are they going to evacuate these people? So if the international community believes that this is a slaughter, that too many people are being killed, maybe they have to think about the provision of arms.
A Dutch court ruled the Netherlands must stop delivering US-owned F-35 parts to Israel. The court cited a clear risk. The fighter jets would be involved in international law violations. European Union's foreign policy chief, Joseph Borrell, has slammed lip service from the US president and called on Biden to stop giving munition support to its ally. Borrell made these remarks in response to Biden's statement last week, which said that Israel's military action was quote-unquote over the top. Meanwhile, France has delivered a written proposal to Beirut aimed at ending hostilities with Israel and settling the disputed Lebanon-Israel frontier. As per news agency Reuters, the proposal calls for fighters, including Hezbollah's elite unit, to withdraw 10 kilometers from the border. The plan aims to end fighting between the Iran-backed Hezbollah and Israel at the border. The hostilities have run in parallel to the Gaza war and are fueling concerns of a ruinous all-out confrontation. For more on this, our correspondent Jody Cohen joins us from Tel Aviv. Jody, what can you tell us about the latest on the talks being brokered by Egypt, the US and Qatar following the bilateral between US and Jordan?
Israel has hesitated to send a negotiating team to Cairo after Hamas presented their counter-proposal to the US Qatari-Egyptian proposal for a hostage release deal and pause in the fighting. Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu has called the counter-proposal delusional after Hamas called for, among other things, a permanent ceasefire and the early release from prison of 1,500 Palestinian security prisoners 500 of whom are serving sentences for murder. However, following a call between President Biden and Netanyahu, Israel has announced that it is sending a delegation to the talks. Meanwhile, at the White House, Jordan's King Abdullah has called for a ceasefire, while Biden expressed hope that there will be a 6-week pause, enabling time for further negotiations. This is Jodie Cohen for WION World is One.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.